Well, let me give you an idea of the first layer as we peel the onion of this very sophisticated report that is used as sort of the intellectual backbone for climate denialists, such as the former person in the White House, Donald Trump, and also politicians who, in debate or public statements, could refer to a research institute. Well, that research institute oftentimes is the fossil fuel funded Heritage Foundation when it comes to climate denial. And so, what they do here, and what you're going to do in this first layer of the onion, is you're going to decide why they choose the arguments they do. You're going to articulate that. It's not an accident. And again, it goes back to on the homepage of this unit where I mentioned Karl Rove's advice. You don't attack your enemy's weaknesses, you attack your enemy's strengths. So you want to articulate why it's important for them to, this is 2016, to treat the 97% consensus as a myth. In other words, if that consensus were true, it's threatening to the fossil fuel industry. So you have two goals. Why is this a threat? You need to use your critical thinking to articulate that. And what is one of the really good lines that shows them shooting down this threat of a 97% consensus? You'll have to take your own thinking to articulate why it's a threat. And then as a subcategory, they refer to biases in climate research. And basically, this is kind of a second political strategy where you accuse your opponent of what you're doing. That is, the fossil fuel funded climate denialists are biased and totally politicized by the cash in your pocket. And what you do is you accuse your opponent of being biased and politicized. And so why is it important for them to do that, to tarnish the reputation of the scientists with the very flaw of the fossil fuel funded denialists? That is, let's say the scientists are biased and politicized. Why is that important to them? And what line really speaks to their attack on the credibility, the legitimacy, the objectivity of the scientists? And then as we move into the next section, a brief history and where we are today, why is it important for them to put global warming into a historic context rather than to see, as climatologists do, that global warming, in fact, is a historic aberration? That is, something that started with the Industrial Revolution when we started burning lots of coal and then gas and oil, that is CO2 emissions. So why is it important for them to take away recent history and make believe, or, well, create the impression, rather, they know what they're doing, they're lying through their teeth, create the impression that the changes in temperature are part of a larger historic trend? And again, all of the climatologists believe the opposite, that it's kind of the hockey stick, that abrupt upward tilt is a result and correlates directly with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, roughly a couple hundred years ago. So that's another one. And then, what the science tells us, now scientists are always dependent upon data, and the science changes with the data. So there's always change in science, but what their goal is to accuse the scientists of failing their basic task as a scientists, which is to accumulate enough data to verify their theory with results. So why is it important for them to attack the scientist's ability to measure temperature, Why is it important to them to attack the climate models, the scientists' abilities to model climate? Why is it important to them to upend the well-documented scientific fact that we are now getting more extreme weather and more frequent natural disasters? Why is it important for them to demolish that? Why is it important for them to demolish the well-documented fact that the oceans are acidifying, the glaciers are melting, and the sea ice is liquefying? Why is that important? So again, they have great targets, and I would just give you a hint with all three of these is that these two categories here are basically have the signature of extreme natural disasters, which could be devastating in the long run for human beings, and also are in the short run of, as we've seen in this last season of hurricanes and fires and floods, devastating for humans in real time. So why is it important for them to divorce that from climate change? And then finally, the last part here, it's very much like Trump's speech. The high costs, that's how they frame it. Money, 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 money. And the negligible benefits. You remember he lied, as do many of his administrators, about how if we did everything we could do, it would only change the temperature by 0.2 of a degree Celsius. So why is it important for them to emphasize both the high costs and the negligible benefits of climate policy? Kind of a 1-2 punch. And so that's what I wanted you to do, is to articulate the reason these arguments are important to them, and find the best quotes to back them up, and understand that this is not an objective survey of this is everything we know about climate science, as in the state of climate science. This is a targeted attack on the facts of climate science that are most threatening to the fossil fuel industry. And so I want you to kind of admire and articulate the finesse with which they attack their opponent's strengths. That is, for people who want us to address climate change, these are some of the strongest arguments to get moving quickly and turn those gas tanks, those gas pumps off. And so why is it so important for them to attack these things? What benefit is there for the fossil fuel industry? And how does it upend the universal recommendation by climatologists, World Health Organization, researchers, scientists around the world to address this pressing problem? So that's the first level. Why they choose the arguments they do. I'll stop at that. And that's your goal. And you'll see the sections titled by the discussion threads I've started. This will take you a couple of hours.